Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew. Keith Johnson.
Keith?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing my Captain Pike imitation. Hey, what's up?
Wow. Wow. Holy cow.
Ooh, Alan Seiler.
Oh my God. If you had answered like that in my class, I would have given you an A+.
Dude, that was really good.
Yeah, it was good.
That was completely unrehearsed.
Wow. And Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
Good job.
Good job, bro.
All right.
Oh, Keith, that cracks me up.
Yeah, dude, you got me, man. I was like, oh
Me
no,
too.
already? Technical problems.
That is hilarious.
Wow. All right. We got some Star Trek news this week.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, we've got, oddly enough, we have a lot of Prodigy news.
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
of all, I don't know if we've mentioned this before in a previous show, but the second half of the first season will be coming out on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. We'll have a complete season available that we don't have to rely on streaming services to be able to watch.
And hopefully bonus content.
I would imagine. Yes. Yes, exactly. We have, and I don't have the list in front of me, so forgive me because I didn't even think about it, but we have 3 tie-in novels. Prodigy tie-in novels that are going to be coming out later this fall, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And they have released a new clip from the first episode of season 2.
Right.
This is so much stuff for a show that's basically already, on the other side of the guillotine. It's already axed. It's already done. They may have another home for it at some point, and we may see all this stuff. But oh my gosh, this is a avalanche of crazy stuff for a show that doesn't really exist anymore.
I feel like they weren't planning on canceling it. And also, they don't have any other shows in production or post-production right now. So that's all they can talk about.
Yeah, everything's on hold right now. But
yeah.
It came up in our group. Vanny Beth was asking, like, is there a home for the show? And if not, why are they promoting it? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe they have an announcement they haven't announced yet. Or maybe they're just stoking the fan flames in the hopes of keeping the excitement going because they're trying to sell it, and a bunch of fans rattling the cages helps.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I've said in the past, is that there either is a deal in the air that we haven't been announced that, fans don't know about yet, or they are keeping it alive in fan interest so that they can sell it. I mean, when they say we have a built-in audience for this thing, of course, then the comeback question is, well, why the hell did you get rid of it in the first place?
Yeah.
If you've got a built-in audience for it.
Right.
So why would we want to take it on? So we'll see.
That preview clip is pretty cool too. You get the return of Robert Picardo as the EMH.
Yes.
You get the Voyager A.
Yes.
With some stats on the ship and stuff. Like it whets the appetite to see. I want to see it. I want to watch the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
So they're doing a good job of keeping us, salivating.
Yeah.
They just gotta deliver the meal.
Right.
I've seen clips of a panel on TikTok from Star Trek Las Vegas, or mission, the 57-year mission. I don't know. They're calling it something else now. But and the producers, I think it was the producers, maybe it was the writers. I don't know who it was. We're talking about, someone asks the question of, hey, what can we do to help? And they're like, just keep putting it out there, tweeting, TikToking, whatever it is you're doing, and keep making the noise.
And tag Star Trek Prodigy, tag Save Prodigy, and save Star Trek Prodigy. Like, there's like the bean counters looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's easier to sell a product if there's a bunch of people at the window going, I want to buy it. I want to buy it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, see? So, I would say keep making noise about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Keith, we have some This Week in Trek this week?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Ironically, talking about new Trek. 3 years ago this week, August 6th, 2020 was the debut, an episode entitled Second Contact.
Wow.
Yay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
3
alive
years
during
just
that.
like
Woo.
that. I know, right? Lower Decks, of course, we're talking about. I think we talked about this before. Alan, I know many times said this is possibly your favorite of the new Trek series. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never seen. Is it Rick and Morty that those guys come from? I've never seen an episode of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Rick and Morty, but I've become one since. But I would say it's very different though from Rick and Morty. I was thinking it was going to be because Rick and Morty is quite cynical in the style of humor and kind of grossed out with the humor. And I would say Lower Decks goes to the sweet side instead of the cynical side.
Yeah, and he was just a writer on it.
Right.
Mike McMahon wasn't like the creator.
He was like the science nerd in the writer's room.
Well, he's blossomed.
Yeah.
And 45 years ago this week, on the 7th of August, 1978, principal filming began with James Kirk visiting the bridge of the newly refurbished Enterprise. That, of course, was Star Trek: The Motion Picture, 1978, August 7th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
A movie that kind of divisive. You still have people say it's like the most boring thing ever. And then a lot of people, as people who are original fans, some, not all, get older, I hear more and more people say it's the only true Star Trek movie ever when you're in that camp.
Star Trek fans aren't good at in between.
No.
It's got to be like the worst thing I've ever seen or the best thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Absolutely. One more thing. Usually I don't do birthdays, but this one's kind of important. On the 12th of August, 1921, one Walter Jeffries was born.
Oh.
The man.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have any tubes.
This is true.
That's right.
I mean, among the things he designed was the Enterprise. He came up with the saucer section, the engineering hull, the concept of the nacelles. He designed Phaser 1 and Phaser 2, the handheld and the pistol grip phaser. He did a huge percentage of the sets, the landscapes, the props, and Charles, for you, he's also famously the designer of the Klingon D7 battle cruiser.
Not the Katinga. I thought they were the same.
Oh, gosh. It is amazing when someone does an aesthetic that lasts for this long. I mean, there's everything in Star Trek universe pretty much has nacelles, 2 nacelles, 1 nacelle, the whole concept of the saucer section and the engineering hull. I mean, amazing what that guy did.
And he took the concepts of flying saucers and rockets, which were science fiction up to that point, and combined them into something new. Yeah.
Right.
And it's genius. He didn't reinvent the wheel. He just took what was there and did something new with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And the last thing, and for those who were alive at the time, this was a heady time. 1978, we mentioned Star Trek: The Motion Picture had begun filming, which was cool for Star Trek fans. Also in the 70s, we're talking Star Wars had just premiered. Well, 1 year before the filming started on the motion picture, on August 12th, 1977, was the first free flight of the shuttle Enterprise.
Ooh.
Which, as everybody knows, was named the Enterprise because a billion fans, not a billion, but thousands of fans literally flooded NASA and the president with letters, no internet back in the day, letters to change the shuttle, whose original name I forget, help me out, to the Enterprise. I don't know what it was going to be called initially.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I do wish the fans had waited one shuttle.
Right. I mean, from what I've heard, they certainly were intending to call a shuttle the Enterprise, because why wouldn't they?
Yes.
But because of the fans, we got the only non-flying or non-orbital shuttle.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, fans.
I love it.
I'm not counted among those fans. I wasn't alive.
That's This Week in Trek.
All right. Well, if you're listening on the audio podcast, we'll take a quick break right here and promote a fellow ESO Network podcast show. But don't go away, because when we come back, we'll be talking about Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. And if you're watching with us live, we're just going to continue. I want to talk about Strange New Worlds. Veronica, do you want to bring us back in with a spoiler warning?
Dun 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 dun. Spoilers.
Wow.
Land shark.
Very dramatic.
Yes. That was dramatic.
I was going to try and do the Gorn music that they used in the episode, but I was like, I don't remember it.
That's not far off, yeah. No, it's the spoilers for Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Hegemony. And, I mean, this was the season finale.
Yeah.
Mm.
What did you call it?
Hegemony. Did I say
Hegemony?
Hegemony.
Hegemony. Okay.
Hegemony.
Okay.
I only know that because of Ender's Game.
Okay.
Oh.
But I pronounced it Hegemon.
Okay.
Well,
What do we think of Hegemony?
wasn't it the book, The High Queen and Hegemon? Wasn't that the second book in the Ender's trilogy?
No.
It wasn't? No, Speaking for the
Speaker for
Dead.
the Dead.
Well,
and
anyway.
Hegemony. Yeah, but let's keep
Yeah.
on going. So we have an opinion about Star Trek: Strange New Worlds.
Is that a
Monday
show we
News
were,
Game.
is that a show
Yeah.
we were supposed to have been watching?
I hope so.
I've just been listening to Substation Rhapsody on repeat for last week, so I don't know what's going on this week.
Oh, wow.
I think this episode for me, my opinions are well known. This episode for me hit me exactly like a J.J. Abrams movie. It was entertaining. I enjoyed the special effects and the acting. I did not enjoy the subject. The Gorn, the Kirk.
We know.
The Gorn have changed even more than I thought. I mean, my gosh, there's a whole series of treaties. It didn't engage me on that level, but it was exciting. And I also, honestly, outside of everything else I feel about the Gorn as basically xenomorphs is just not moving me. And that's just a personal opinion. That just doesn't move me. It doesn't much for me at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, when we had the big episode last season, we talked about how it was just basically a pastiche of the Aliens franchise.
Right.
There were moments in this episode that were exact shots, like exact camera shots of things happening in Aliens, the second movie particularly.
Right.
I mean, it was like, come on, people. I mean,
Wow.
they looked more, like the alien monsters, and literal, like, shot, like, oh my God. I was frustrated by it.
I could also honestly say, because I try so hard to not be subjective. I try not to just say, I try not to come and say, well, I just don't like this idea, therefore I'm not going to like it. But I can honestly say, even outside of that, just the kind of action of this just didn't move me. I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was great, and it's a weird thing to say. I think I got more of a reaction to the musical than this. That's not saying this is bad. I really put this in it was really fine. I would watch it again, but it didn't do anything. It didn't feel special to me, which is a weird statement.
I want to get two comments because they're relevant to what Keith is saying. And well, first of all, Elaine says, same here listening to Subspace Rhapsody on repeat. But Matt says, there was a moment in this episode where I literally said out loud, oh, Keith is going to hate this. Nice.
Yeah.
You know me, brother.
I mean, it was a run around a pew pew episode.
Yeah.
A lot of alien, a bit of zombie movie.
Yeah.
I mean, my thought this morning, and this is coming the week after the musical episode, I was like, you really got to turn your brain off for this one. Because I mean, there's always some amount of things in Star Trek that you have to just go with, like transporters and warp drive and plot points. But some episodes just keep hitting you with them. And it's just like, geez Louise.
Yeah. And I think because, again, it was absolutely, I'll watch the episode. It was a good episode. They look good. Production is phenomenal. Great actors. But I think about other two-parters like the introduction of the Borg or even Species 8472 with Introduced 7 of 9. Some of the Deep Space Nine multi-parters, it didn't move me on that level because it just kind of felt like a very perfectly acceptable action episode. And I think I wanted to see Pike in a different role given how little he's been in the series this season.
Okay.
It's interesting that you say that, Keith, because to me, it felt like one of those good old classic Next Generation two-parters. And you point out the exceptional ones, but what about Time's Arrow, which is just a perfectly nice two-part episode, I mean, this is the first one of these that for the most part, the first one of these that we've gotten in modern Trek. We did have the cliffhanger in Lower Decks where the captain was, arrested, but this is, and as far as live action Trek, this is our first one. Discovery never did anything like this.
Well, Discovery, they resolved it in season 2 like they always do, but they also had the jump into the future thing, which was a bit of a cliffhanger.
Not so much cliffhanger.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it was a cliffhanger, but it didn't stop in the middle of a story.
Right.
Where it basically started a new story the next season.
Right.
But
you're right.
Resolving that cliffhanger.
Right.
So, yes, go ahead.
So Chuck and I were talking about this earlier and how weak of a cliffhanger this is, because it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna
Well,
say.
I
What
don't-
am I gonna do?
Well, yeah, because it's. I think they're going for a best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Best
totally.
of both worlds. You have he makes a decision. Fire.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. And this one's like
Right.
Captain Pike. What do we do? And he's like, I don't know. Dun dun.
But
Yeah.
and I said where they needed to cut it is when they said they beamed our crew onto their ship.
They've got our
Boom.
people. Enterprise
Yes.
order to leave. To be continued.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Right.
Cut it like 30 seconds earlier.
Yes. Agreed.
Great ending.
I
Agreed.
agree.
Right.
And in for penny, in for the pound, while I'm babbling and complaining and bitching about callback and fan service, Montgomery Scott, I wasn't feeling that
He was
either.
he was really good.
I thought he
Yes.
was a good Scotty.
He was
Yeah.
a great
Good.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you don't like
that-
something, you just don't like it.
I know. I think he was as for one. I like that he's actually Scottish. The
Yeah.
actor, I looked him up.
Ah,
He's a
yeah.
Scottish actor.
Yeah.
But he's still giving it a little bit more of a Scotty lilt to it.
Yeah.
Than
Yeah.
probably. I mean, I haven't heard him speak in his natural voice, but I'm guessing he's laying into the Scottiness a bit of it. It is a little weird now that Scotty looks like he's younger than Kirk.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
is the
A lot.
opposite of how it had always been. Scotty's like 10 years older than Kirk and looks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a deal breaker. They need to find the best actors they can find. It's
Yeah.
just something
Right.
I
Mhm.
noticed.
I'd rather have a good performance than they look their appropriate
At
age.
first, when he came on screen, I thought he
Uh-huh.
was just that same guy, Doug, from earlier, the red shirt guy with the
Doug.
black hair. He looks kind of like Doug, but then as soon as he had the Scottish accent, I was like, oh,
I
we're
love
doing
it.
this now.
Oh, that's great, Doug.
That was his name.
Yeah.
Matt says, I thought the Scottish broch was a tad too thick. But I don't know. I'm thinking that might be his natural voice. So,
Yeah.
I
think,
don't know.
Yeah, I think he's adding some Scottyisms into it, but he is
Yeah.
Scottish in real life, which is
Yeah.
the first time we've had a Scottish actor playing Scotty.
And Elaine says, I loved that Pelia knew Scotty.
That
too."
was hilarious when she was like, he was my best worst student,
Right.
my best student with the worst grades, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I can see that for Scotty.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot of times the small universe thing bugs me, but it makes sense for her.
Yeah.
She's been teaching
Yeah.
engineering at the academy for 100 years.
Yes, exactly.
It makes sense that he would have come through her class.
Right.
Um,
Well, not that she's the only engineering professor.
no, but if you're in an engineering major, say, it's
Yeah.
not unusual that an engineering instructor would know who you are or have taught you.
Well, yeah, I know, but they all seem to be in her class.
That's true.
That's a bit.
Everybody.
That's a big class.
Right.
Now you'll find out this Spock's mom was like auditing her class for some reason. That's how she knows her.
Did we find out yet how? Because Amanda was on the show.
No, we
Uh,
didn't. They didn't say how they knew each other.
Okay.
No, they did not say.
They did not interact at all. In fact, I don't even know if she was in that episode, was she?
Yeah, I don't think so.
She wasn't. She was
Yeah.
just mentioned.
Okay.
Okay. Speaking of saying things with no explanation,
Mhm.
this is about this week's episode. The whole plan to rescue the people and take out the suppressor thing was
Mhm.
to, super glue some retro rockets onto the remaining chunk of the saucer section of the other ship,
Right.
the Cayuga.
Right.
Why is Spock the only one who could do it? He says, humans cannot do this. It's a tricky thing. I'm the only one who can. And then he gives an explanation. And the explanation is basically, we need to do this in order to rescue the people. I'm the only one who can do it. Therefore, I'm
Right.
going. Why?
Yeah,
I think it was that thing for Christine. Still
I
going
thought
on.
so too, but he didn't look for Christine. He was just doing his job, and she found him.
Yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
understand. I mean, we've heard this so many times from Spock because of
Right.
his, the composition of his blood, or because of, his
Mhm.
Right.
his super strength or whatever. So
Right.
is a suitcase of retro rockets so heavy that a human couldn't lift them? I mean, but they never said.
Right.
Yeah, that made no sense. I was going to expect something like you're saying, Alan, something like there was some radiation out there that only he could survive for that
Right.
period of time, or
Right.
some kind of
Or
MacGuffin like that.
You've got to do computations on the fly, and Spock's the only one who can do the math in his head.
Right.
Sure.
Something.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah,
But also-
absolutely.
The thing I thought was, I mean, earlier they had said, there's pockets of oxygen, people could be alive, and
Yes.
and the hope that Christine would be alive. They
Right.
didn't check before they just launched this thing into the. I hope not that there was.
I had the
I need the
same
crew.
thought. I had the same thought. He got Christine. He's like, okay, away we go.
Right. Either she was the only one on the ship who survived, or
Right.
like, sorry, y'all, I'm not in love with you.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck on that name, Charles. I see the ship crashing, and Ensign Doug is like, "Hey, I'm alive."
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where it's just like it's not making sense scene to scene. Like I know we give it a hard time when you don't match up with a 50-year-old show, but you kind of forgive it. It's like we're talking about the same, or like in last week's episode, the plot was that they were messing with this subspace fold,
right,
to increase their range. They could talk across thousands of light years, which they already do. And they did in this episode. They had a FaceTime back to headquarters from outside the Federation. So what are you to hold for?
And I did chuckle though when Pike said, "Well, I'm not breaking out in a song." That's something. That was pretty funny. Back on the scene with the saucer section that they crashed, I will say that the view of that ruined saucer section was amazing.
Yes, it was.
It was.
Man, that looked good. And I got to give credit where credit was due. That adult Gorn in the spacesuit was awesome looking. I gotta say that was one of the best I've with the helmet on. That Spock took like a thingamajig and stuck it in it. It's kind of cool to see articulated tail spacesuit thingamajig. Yeah. That was kind of cool. So I actually enjoyed that. Yep. I had the same thought. It was like, are we sure everybody's dead? But he got Christine. So hey.
So that's all we care about.
Right.
We don't know any of those other people.
Right.
Okay, let me get this comment from Matt. He says, I have heard complaints about prequels being that we know the fate of characters, but I think this is the first time where it really undermines the suspense of the episode. Knowing Chapel's and Mbenga's fate is really weakening the story. I kind of agree with that. I think that if you knowing that, what the story writing has to do is to make the tension. Like for the half of the episode, we didn't know where Christine was. Right. So you have to make the tension. Where is she? How does she get out of wherever she is? And I think that they tried to build on that, but she's going to live. So the suspense can't be whether she lives or dies. It has to be something else, another factor.
Right. And that doesn't really bother me because most of the time watching Star Trek, I'm pretty reasonably sure none of the characters are going to die anyway.
Exactly.
Unless it's a contract dispute, they're probably going to be fine. But really, like you said, the tension is more in like, how are they going to get out of this one? Now they're really in a fix. How are they getting out of it?
Exactly.
For me, that's more where the tension comes from.
I got to say, though, knowing that the entire landing party, except for Ortegas, we know that they're going to survive. Because they're on the original series.
Right.
She's the only one.
Right.
In the landing party. And she's a red shirt.
Yeah.
That's right.
You said this morning. Yeah. Because it was like, yay, my first landing party.
Yeah.
It's like, she's got.
Why do I want to do that? I'm like, oh, she's dead.
Right.
Okay.
I don't want her to be dead. I love her to death. She has
me too.
Best quotes, but
that is so funny.
No, I don't think she's gonna bite it.
Not.
But let me tell you who I was 100% certain for half a season was gonna die, and that is Battelle. I was sure that they were going to commit some terrible act of fridging, because let me tell you why. She had the romance with Pike. They broke up and then they reconciled. And this thing always happens after the couple reconciles. Then last week they gave her a first name for the first time ever. And then this week she got the opening captain's log. And I thought she's a goner. That's it.
Apparently.
So I think that we aren't going to lose her, thank goodness, because now they're doing that thing again where the tension is, how does she survive? Right. And she is a character that we don't know from the original series, so we don't know that she lives past this. So we do have that sense of suspense about whether she lives or dies. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
But she was not around to take care of Pike when he gets hurt later. So, because Spock had to come in and take care of him. So, I mean, that's still a ways away.
They
yes,
just split up. We don't,
but,
know what's going on.
Yeah, they could have just broken up.
That was my thought when she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Gorn, bitten, scratched, whatever."
The zombie bit me. And I've been hiding the bite. That's
right.
What it was.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, she's gone."
Yeah, as soon as the Gorn did back to your point, Alan, did the kind of recreation of the scene from Alien where it was face to face with her, and
Yes.
then it went away, and then it went away. I was sitting there going, and he's like, "What's wrong?" Nothing. I'm like seriously, there's nothing I won't want to tell you, and there's nothing you need to tell him. She's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You got a damn baby, Gorn baby in you. No,
Yeah.
you need to say something real fast. And this, it won't hatch for another day. Right. You're sure of that?
Yeah, that's as soon as the other captain shows up, that's something you pull him aside and said, "Here's the situation. I've got about 72 hours. I'm trying to do what I can, but be ready to shoot me."
Exactly. Matt says, and this is a continuation of his previous comment, I did think the direction of the fight scene in the ruined saucer was amazing.
Yeah,
Zero-G
that was
fight
really
great.
pretty.
The zero,
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
They did it really well.
And at the end, when they rose up out of the destroyed bridge as the ship, that was a great scene. They were a little bit with a slow motion. I'm weightless.
Yes,
they're doing
they can't get away from that.
And at the end, when they're like holding hands, they were very obviously standing. They didn't even bother to like suspend them, so it looks like their legs are dangling, because it very obviously was. Those are butts that are standing, not floating in the air.
Butts, standing butts. You can tell the
Muscles
difference between a
up.
standing and a floating butt. Okay. Elaine says they talked about the effects of the Gorn on this week's Ready Room. The actor in that suit had a lot of work to do.
Oh, I heard there was talk about it in that one. We didn't get it. We didn't get a chance to
get time to watch it. I wanted to before this, but I suspected that there was a suit. And I'm glad there is.
Yes.
And Christina Chong is the big guest on this week's episode.
Yay.
Okay.
Or was she last week? I don't know.
She was on there last week.
Oh, never mind then. I don't know who's on this week other than the Gorn dude, apparently.
Yeah. Hopefully Scotty or Doug.
What? Go to Doug. She says, hush your mouth, Veronica. Ortegas is not allowed to go anywhere.
I agree. I just was like, oh, she's gone. Sorry.
Now, if it had been Sulu they had found, I'd feel like she's not coming back.
Yes.
Exactly.
That is correct.
And that makes me wonder. I've thought ever since the beginning of this season when they announced Carol Kane, I thought she's just going to be a placeholder until Scotty shows up. So now I'm afraid that we have one more episode with Pelia, whether she leaves the ship or dies or something. I hope not. I hope that this is another Kirk situation where he's just going to show up once in a while and we have Pelia at least for another season.
I liked him and I liked their dynamic, so I wouldn't mind if he was like her assistant next year.
I would love that.
That would be
amazing. Like she's trying to keep him in line and he's all like, let's jerry rig all these things.
Yes. Yeah.
And he could fill in when you can't afford Carol Kane for every episode.
Right.
Totally. Matt says, I do wonder about Batel's fate. Well, and here's the problem with this. We have a big cliffhanger in the middle of a storyline. We have no idea when we're going to get the continuation.
Yeah, I was like, it's going to be a tears.
It will not be next year, definitely.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a strong chance of 2025.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And by
Earliest.
then, I won't even remember what happened this episode.
I know, right?
Elaine says Batel is not out of the woods. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Blade 2002 says,
Wayne?
And poof, here's Scotty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elaine says no guest, but lots about the puppets and animatronics. Oh, excellent!
Yay!
Yeah. Excellent.
That's fine.
I love puppets.
Me too.
Do you now?
As you could tell.
Yeah.
Puppets in the background. One thing I wanted to mention, I've been kind of a negative Nancy on this episode, but I do want to mention that one thing I really liked was that the colony they were at looked like an old-fashioned town. Like it could have been the 40 Acres backlot almost. That's something that felt very TOS to me, is that you go out to this planet and you beam down and it's Mayberry.
Yes,
that feels like TOS. Yeah,
I thought so too.
Yeah, I like that.
I looked up, and I should have known this because I've been studying a lot of mythology recently, but I've forgotten this one. Parnassus. Mm-hmm. Parnassus is a mountain in central Greece associated, adjacent to the site of the ancient city of Delphi, the Oracle of Delphi, associated with Apollo and the Corinthian nymph. It was the home of the Muses. And that term is associated with poetry, literature, and learning. I don't know what it had to do with that little town, but
maybe we'll get a space hand next week, or next year, or next 2 years
Next.
from now.
Because they made a point of calling it Parnassus Beta, which
That's
is good.
I mean, pulling a name from mythology is very like 60s sci-fi also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I think that's great. Yeah. That part of the show. I mean, I like this episode. I had a good time watching it. So there were things about like so like they had the Gorn drew a demarcation line across the orbit of the planet. Does it move with the planets, or do you just have to wait until it comes around?
I didn't even know. I didn't catch that. That's great.
Yeah. Like how does that work? Like, oh well, 2 weeks and it's ours again.
And that's funny because they have established a shared planet earlier this season where the Klingons have it for 6 months and then we have it for 6 months. Maybe we'll have that same kind of thing.
Yes.
Maybe we're in like the planet sharing, part of Federation history. I don't know.
Maybe.
Where we just lease out territory to the highest bidder or something.
Right.
Or the one with the biggest red marker.
With sharing territory with the Gorn, for one thing, I don't understand why they're like, no, we can't risk war with the Gorn.
Thank you.
They just like blew up 2 of their spaceships.
Well,
and we're eating people.
They just came out of a war with the Klingons. I think they don't want to go to war with anybody. But also, I mean, especially they're
like, we're working it out with the Hegemony, and I'm like, no, you're not, clearly, because they're just like coming in and blowing up spaceships. I mean, if they were going after the planet, why didn't they go after the planet and leave the Starfleet alone? They could have left the spaceship alone at the very least.
I agree with that, Veronica, because I was thinking they could have at least given us a background like the Maquis in Star Trek and Deep Space Nine, where after the war they signed treaties, and that's how the territories ended up the way they were. Because to this point, it was kind of like, well, officially, to your point, Charles, like, well, officially, they're like a mile inside the line, so they're dead. They're toast. Like, well, hell, the Federation line is like right over there. So that was a little odd to me.
Right.
That was a little weird.
Something that got me in this episode, when you see the shuttle flying through the debris.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've matched the speed and velocity of the debris.
Only they're moving past all the debris.
What debris are you making velocity with?
I mean, the idea was a good one, but
right.
I'm glad it's not just me this week doing that, because
I
was
thinking
the
I'm
same.
nitpicky this week. I don't know.
Well, but I had the same thought. It's like they're like, the Gorn aren't going to pay any attention. Like, well, all this debris starts like doing crazy 8s and stuff. They're gonna kind of notice something. Although it was cool to drop the sausage section on there jamming.
Yeah, I mean that's a good plan. I thought that was cool.
That was
the funny part is that 2 different parties at the same time were coming up with the same plan, so they were basically going to, like, both of them crash something into the big tower.
Yeah.
Matt says, why would you put a demarcation line in the middle of a system anyway? It's like putting a country border in the middle of someone's house.
Yes,
I will say,
they have done.
Yeah, exactly. I do know of a house in Florida that is on the county line, so half of the house is in one county and half is on the other. So it can happen.
Yeah, maybe.
So there you go.
Maybe they just specifically want this half of the system. Like we don't even care enough about that planet to claim the rest of the system. That one you can have.
Exactly.
I did think that was weird though, and they even showed the orbits of the planet, the line just going right through the middle of it. Like, when does it get here?
Maybe it's because half of the year when that stupid light makes them go crazy and eat people thing, maybe it's the half of the year where they sleep or something.
Maybe.
Could be.
That whole weird thing about coronal mass ejections make them go into a feeding frenzy or whatever. I thought that was a little I personally just don't like the Gorn being reimagined as basic xenomorphs.
Really? I've never heard you say that before.
Yeah, all right, smart guy. Yeah, I really wish they'd done a different race. But so that kind of just
new race.
Well, that's exactly right. Because here's the thing. Like all the series so far have taken a quote unquote legacy species that they have sort of adopted and developed, like Next Generation took on the Klingons and did really, really great new deep things with them. DS9 took on the Ferengi and the Trill. Voyager did new things with the Borg. The Enterprise had the Andorians, but all of those shows also had original, newly created major foes that were endemic to that series. The Borg originated on Next Generation. DS9 had the Founders and the Jem'Hadar. Voyager came up with 8472. And well, we have to stop with Enterprise because all they could come up with was a Suleiman, and we don't need another one of those.
Well, they got Zindi in there, though.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, that's true. But they were a 1-season thing, though, unfortunately. So, but here's the thing. I don't have any problem necessarily with them doing this with the Gorn, because every series has done this. They've taken a species that's already existing and doing new things with them. The problem is that they also need to come up with a major foe of their own that's identical to this series. The problem is you can't do that with 10 episodes a year. If you want to devote 2 or 3 episodes, in this case it was 1, but we had 2 last season, to your legacy threat, and then also do an animated episode and a musical episode and all this other stuff. You can't do all of that stuff in 10 weeks.
Yeah, I think you can carve out time to do it, but I mean, it's not just Strange New Worlds. I mean, Star Trek's been back since 2017. That's 6 years, a lot of shows, a lot of episodes. What would you say is the most memorable new foe we've had since then?
None.
No, I mean, maybe Gwen's dad.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's saying how memorable they are that I had to say Gwen's dad because I just forgot the name. The Solon? Was it the Solon?
The Voss. I don't know. I want to say Voss Narada, but that's Doctor Who.
Narada, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's across all new Star Trek. They really haven't put any emphasis on develop. Now, Lower Decks, I think the trailer for this year had some weird ships and somebody's attacking them. Hopefully they won't open it up and find out that it's somebody from Next Gen. Hopefully it'll be something new because
it's a new Pac-led ship.
But
I was about to say, I was like,
yeah. Now that you're across different time periods on these shows, you could have Captain Pike make first contact with a planet who emerges as a foe on Lower Decks or menaces Picard. Or, if they planned it, by 1,000 years later, they're threatening the galaxy and Discovery has to save the galaxy. Like, you could develop it like that if they wanted to.
Exactly, they could.
Even with only 10 episodes in a season.
Right, and we've been saying that since after Discovery started and they started adding on new shows. We've been saying these shows take place in different time periods. We should have them linked thematically, if not narratively. So, yes, absolutely do that stuff.
Well, they used to do that in the Star Trek novels in the 90s. They'd have a crossover, but it's not a crossover. It's just a story that went, there's 4 books. One's Next Gen, one's TOS, one's DS9, and it would follow similar themes or stories across those.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Me too. Wayne says, hang on, I missed it. Wayne says, and this is going back a little bit, no kidding, the Gorn destroyed a Federation starship and they blew it off. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Well said.
Yes.
I forgot. That's right, because there's 2 ships, right? Well, there's actually 2 ships. Scotty's ship also, right?
The Sun Rider, Sun
Diver?
Sun Diver Rider. Yeah, Sun Diver, something.
Yeah.
Which we never saw. Matt says, I don't think 20 plus seasons are feasible, but does he mean episodes? But even if they manage 14 to 16 episodes, must be even breaking them up in half seasons, they could do a lot more of these things. Exactly. I think even 13 episodes a season helps with that kind of situation.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends how they release it, because Prodigy, they're doing 20 episode seasons. They're releasing 10 in a year.
Yeah, so dumb.
And so it doesn't feel like it's...
No, it felt like they're like 2 separate seasons.
Right. But I think that if you just carve out time like they have for the Gorn, if it was something new besides the Gorn, and I'm not going to keep complaining about the Gorn, but like you say, I would love to see something new.
I got to say that Lower Decks, with its 25, 30-minute episodes, was able to develop the Pac-Leds more than they've developed the Gorn.
Well, true. But, I mean, we've only had really 3 Gorn episodes now.
Yes.
How many Pac-Led episodes do we have? Like,
I don't know.
3?
But they had that whole one where that Pac-Led was a tourist on the ship and trying to be a spy. And that one was awesome.
But there's also, like, how much are you actually going to say about the Pac-Led?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, I do like it. It seems like they're following some kind of at least long plan with the Gorn. We're hoping to develop a better understanding of them. Because Akiva Goldsman's been saying since the Gorn came back last year, I want the Gorn because we need an enemy who's just pure evil and a monster. I'm like, but that's not happened in Arena. The whole point of Arena was that they weren't.
Yeah.
But if they're building to Arena, then I mean, already in this episode, you had Captain Pike pretty adamant that the Gorn are just monsters. But then, wait, they have a little more complex behavior than I expected.
Yes.
So maybe they're building towards gaining at least some understanding of the Gorn.
Maybe, but
they're straining. I know they must. I know they must have a document they've written for people like me, where every single objection to the Gorn from the original series, I bet they have a line. It's like the rules of acquisition. Because you say, well, you didn't say this. They must have it, because to what you're saying, Charles, they're trying to connect this. And even I was trying to give it whatever. But then when they were like, the Gorn protocols, the Gorn killing phaser, I'm like, holy crap, wait a minute. You're really stretching to try to connect with the original series, where they literally act like they didn't have a Gorn phaser in the original series. They didn't mention the Gorn protocols. But of course, they didn't say there weren't any Gorn protocols, so that's right. How they do it.
Right.
If only we had just like packed some gunpowder into a big tube, and that would have done it.
That would be rad if you just open that case and it's a bamboo tube.
Oh God!
My God, that'd be so amazing. Oh shoot!
That'd be great. The Gorn protocol, yeah, that'd be cool.
Our friend Clarence Brown from the Discussing Trek podcast. Hi, Clarence.
What's up, Clarence?
Says it was nice to see a full-size Gorn in this one.
Yeah,
I agree. I like the look of the full-size Gorn better than the juveniles.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him walking around yet. They're still like clinging to ceilings and dropping down and things like that. But also, I mean, on that topic, I'm not used to seeing Starfleet officers saying like, "It's a baby, kill it," and I'm just like, whoa. And I know that the babies spit venom and stuff, but still, like. It's like if it was a humanoid child, you wouldn't be like, it's one of the kids, get it.
But this baby also eats you to survive. So.
And also, it's not cute.
It's the babies that impregnate you. Do the adults impregnate?
Right.
I don't think the adults impregnate you.
But even if it had all the same behaviors, but it looked like a little girl, then they would have a crisis of conscience of killing it, because it looks sweet. And I don't know if I can, but I mean, if these things are, we know they're sentient, they're flying around in spaceships.
Right.
And these are the juveniles of the species, and we know that. And we're just like, boom, hey, the new phaser works.
Exactly. I mean, they are people eating lizards, but they are lizards that can build a tower that suppresses all forms of penetration around the planet. You can't get communications in, you can't beam, you can't do sensors, you ain't got nothing. So they're not just stupid monsters, they're not animals.
Yeah.
But that's how they're portrayed.
Yeah, and I have a problem with that.
And if it stays that way, I'll continue having a problem with it. If this is a process of over the course of the series, they're not monsters after all, and just instead of an episode, it was over a series.
Yeah,
okay, I'm okay with that. But still, it just struck me. It's one of the younglings. Get it? And then there was no remorse. It was just like, this new phaser works. Like, wow.
Right. Okay, so Matt says Keith's rules of aggravation. Wayne says, yeah, but does anyone else think the Gorn looks slightly alienish? You must have come in halfway through the episode, because we spent a bit of time talking about that.
Absolutely,
or should I say griping about that?
They're a bit alien, a bit xenomorph. They're trying to be a bit bored now.
Yeah.
They're doing the salad.
The Gorn salad.
Right.
Matt says, and it's hard to reconcile the seemingly purely instinctual Gorn we're seeing and the fact that at least some faction is engaging in some sort of diplomatic level.
Right. They drew up the demarcation line.
I mean, exactly.
So I don't know. It's I mean, it was an exciting episode, and there were some great visuals in it. I like some of the character work that was going on. I hate to just be like complaining about this episode because I really like the show. The whole Gorn thing doesn't do much for me, though. I mean, to be honest, making them more like xenomorphs doesn't help, because they may as well just be xenomorphs.
Right.
Also, they weren't singing, so.
Oh, come on. We can't have more than 1 week of that. I've got a couple of things. One, this is something that I have been meaning to say for 10 damn weeks now. So if I don't get it in now, I've lost all opportunity to do so. I love the new title sequence.
Oh yeah.
God,
Oh, it
it's
is good.
so good.
Yeah.
The other thing is the battle uniforms. That is some sexy stuff right there. That is. I'm not playing. That is a good looking uniform.
I noticed they were very reflective and shiny.
That's true. But they do look more protective than just beaming down in your regular duty costume.
Thank you.
Which Star Trek's done
Exactly.
forever.
Yeah.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly. Insane.
Yeah.
But also, I thought that Christine's like duty jacket looked
Yeah.
really cool. That looked really sharp. I liked it a lot. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get that out there.
And I give him credit for getting some things right, because one of the things they never used to do in the old series was, I guess, what was Christine? Where was she? Was she in sickbay where she was looking at Spock?
No,
Or no?
I think she was in a corridor.
Yeah.
because sickbay was already destroyed.
That's right.
Yeah.
They said that.
Yeah.
But one thing I thought they did really cool that makes all sense on the spaceship was she had a space suit at easy access to her. And that's something that they used to not do all the time. Remember how many times the original series Khan or somebody like turned off the oxygen on the bridge and everybody fell out? And you think in a real spaceship, they'd have at least an oxygen tank under there,
like
right?
under their
Yeah.
console or something.
Right.
Yes, I
I-
thought that was really cool that wherever portion of the ship she was in, there was a emergency space suit nearby. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
That was
And I like that she grabbed the flashlight to try to signal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So did
And
I.
I'm going to forgive
Yeah.
her for seeing Spock flying by in a spacesuit and beating on the window.
Yes.
Well, it's
I
your
noted that
immediate
too.
reaction.
It's
You
an instinct.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let
exactly
that go. But
right.
I feel like
mean-
any of us, if we were in space and trapped, we saw someone we knew flying by, we'd still
Yes.
bang on the window. I'd be like, "Hey!"
I mean, if your flashlight was dead, that would get his attention. But
I
it's
said
it's
out
dead.
loud, like, yeah, good luck with that. Now, if he'd have heard her, that would have hurt the episode for me.
Yes.
Christine, like, oh my god.
Okay.
He felt it.
Matt says, what was the purpose of letting George Kirk on the landing party? He was pretty useless last time. Well, because he wants another shot at being a competent dude.
Well, he is
Which
a
I'm sorry,
xenobiologist.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Cisco
he's a
would never have let
xenobiologist.
somebody like that on his landing party.
No.
Psh,
Cisco also wouldn't have almost upchucked on the shuttle ride.
that's true.
You see Cisco going while the shuttle's flying? No.
No. Even if he was feeling like that, no.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean George Kirk is a xenobiologist, so I mean it makes sense to bring him
Yes.
along, even though he was
Agreed.
sick last time. So it's not like they're just bringing dead weight along with him. He did sort of just walk into that briefing, which I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, that was weird.
Right.
If you
'Cause
weren't
he
called
did-
He's
there.
like,
did-
I know what's going on and I know what they're gonna do.
But Pike did specifically say command crew.
Yeah.
Is Kirk in the command structure?
No.
I mean,
That's
I don't
an
think that
important
I don't think that
I mean, but
Ortega's
Uhura was in there though.
right.
Well,
I don't think, but
I mean, I know she's a
inci-
communications officer, but
yeah, but the
she's
bridge crew's always been sort of you could be an ensign
Yeah.
like Harry Kim and still
Well,
be
that-
senior
exactly.
staff.
right.
That's just Star Trek's always done that. Like Chekhov would be on the briefing on the original
Exactly. Singing Daydream Believer or something. Clarence thinks that the window scene was great, the visuals of it.
series. Yeah.
I loved that scene where she catches the glimpse of the Enterprise through the window and she just
Yeah.
walks up to him and she's like, Hope. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jess Bush is so phenomenally good.
She is.
I agree.
Man, love her. But I'm gonna say I love this entire cast.
Mhm.
And I mean extended cast too. I love the guy who plays George Kirk. I love the gal who plays Battelle. I love the guy who plays Admiral April. I think they're all just a phenomenal cast.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Yeah. Mitchell's great.
Yes, exactly. Matt says, I would think they wouldn't bring the xenobiologist unless the planet was secure, though.
I mean, maybe, but they're going
Well-
up against an alien they know very little about. So, I mean, I can see the value of bringing a biologist with us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they could have just been like, yeah, you get your turn to fight the Borg again because you were in the last episode with the
Yeah, exactly.
Borg, I think. I mean, whatever.
He really has had a lot of scenes this season.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He's had
all over.
Yeah.
I do have a
Shows like
question.
shows like this do make me miss the original series and then Enterprise that always carried security guards on missions like this. I mean, that's a different aesthetic, but you really would have security on these things no matter what.
On was with
Right.
them.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I'd bring, like, if you have Makos still, I'd bring the Makos.
Yeah, like the
Absolutely.
original
Or
security.
I'm bringing Mustache Man. I mean, like,
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah, the original security where you truly had a whole security team like an Apple where they just kept killing them one after the other.
yeah, but I mean, bring the Marines with you if you're, or the
Yeah.
SEALs if you're going to that
Yeah.
situation.
Totally.
Yeah.
Actually, Charles, the Makos were the best security that I've ever seen in Star Trek. Actually, I love the Makos. Sure. They were awesome.
Well, exactly, and they that should be something that's on every ship. Wayne says George Kirk's role reminds me a lot of that extra guy from Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Guy. He looks like Guy.
Oh God, I love it.
You know, Wayne makes a good point because Kirk always comes in with this like almost exaggerated enthusiasm, just like that guy did in Galaxy Quest. So I had never thought about the connection, but that's a great one.
Yeah,
that's nice.
All right, so I have a question. So when Spock and Chapel reunite, and Spock's like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
What is Spock apologizing for? Maybe I'm missing something in their relationship back and forth. But what did Spock do that he's apologizing for?
Well, he kind of made a scene that other episode where he kind of said
because he went off and pouted.
Huh?
Yeah, why didn't you tell me you were going to take the thing with Dr. Corby? I guess he's apologized for that.
He wasn't. See, she's singing a musical number about it. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I just feel like I feel like that was something in that relationship.
He's a little out of character because Spock, even with all the stuff they're trying to say, Spock really wouldn't be saying "I'm sorry." I actually made a note that even though he was supposed to be emotional in the Corbomite maneuver, when Kirk had a fit and said, "Remember the whole thing where he said in chess, when one is overmatched, the game is over," and Kirk snapped him, said, "Is that your bet?" And he goes, "I'm sorry. I regret." He almost said, "I'm sorry," but he said, "I regret." So I kind of thought, yeah.
But again, you're talking about a Spock 10 years from now.
Yeah,
you're not talking about right now, present day Spock. This is a Spock who's going to grow into that guy that you're talking about.
Well, should I say again, I don't like this Spock?
Yes, you can say that all you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, he should have those singing plants in his quarters, and just every time he goes in his quarters, he just breaks out a big smile.
And he just smiles at him every once in a while. Oh, that's funny.
I actually, and I don't mean this as a joke, but I actually chuckled when they were talking about who could go down. And Mabinga goes, "I would like to go." I'm like, "Yeah, you go down and kill everybody." So
exactly.
I'd be like, "Hey, can I have some of that super soldier serum you got?"
Yeah,
I know,
right? That's what I was thinking. I was like, now's the time to use that stuff.
No kidding.
I mean, have you ever seen a Star Trek where your chief medical officer is like your best fighter? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? He can kill him and heal him at the same time.
Yep.
Right. No, I mean, I think this episode's fun enough to watch, and it's you know, it's dramatic and great visuals in it. And I know I'm sort of picking at it this week, but there was a lot of stuff I felt like more so than usual to pick at, which happens. But yeah, I mean, we might be looking at a year and a half, 2 years before we find out if Pike figured out something to do.
So he's still standing on the bridge, deciding what to do.
Well, he's got plenty of time to figure it out. So, Vandy Beth commented on our Facebook page, but now I don't remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
Dadgummit. I don't know. Anyway, it had something to do with the hiatus, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
One other note I made real quick when they put the captain in because she's got concerned about the Gorn. I made a note. You know, starships really need to go back to old-fashioned rooms with doors and not just stasis fields and force fields, which always drop at the most inconvenient time. Because they're like, "Oh, I'll put a stasis field in her and put it." Yeah, you need to put her in a room with, remember those submarine things where you twist the thing? You need to put her at a door because the power's going to go out and she's going to break out and then she's going to be running around a Gorn baby inside.
Yeah, they did it too. Because they're doing very much of the trying to make this the Borg of the show now, I think.
Yeah.
Totally. Vandy Beth commented, and this goes back to what I was saying about the hiatus when we don't know how long it's going to be till the next season. She says, "I hope they already know how this story ends." And that goes back to Best of Both Worlds, where they wrote the first episode, they closed up shop for the season, and they did not have an outline or anything for part 2 until they reconvened 3 months later to start working on the second season. And then they were like, "Well, what are we going to do now? How do we get out of that?"
Right. Well, at this point, they for sure do, because the season's at least partially or mostly written for next year. Like they were already ready to start filming the season when the strike happens. At this point, they know what happened. Whether they knew that when they rolled cameras on the last episode, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll find out. But that's for any cliffhanger. Yeah, I mean, you're banking a long wait on it being something good. So hopefully it's something good. I'm going to expect that they rescue some of those people or all of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh totally.
It'd be great if they came back. It's like, well, leave orbit. We're leaving. We were ordered to go, and they just fly off to the next adventure.
Exactly. And you know that's not going to happen.
No.
Come on. It's funny that at the beginning of the episode, April was like, now I know you and Battelle are smoochy. So I hope that's not going to compromise your judgment. No, sir, it will not. Immediately he goes and says, get a shuttle. We're going across the line. Screw everybody. Screw the Gorn. We're going to do this. And I was like, you're pretty compromised there, buddy.
I'll go by myself if I have to. Like that's a rational decision to make.
Yep.
Clarence just had I just noticed that Clarence had a great comment that just came up.
Which Clarence's?
The most recent comment, I think, is a stellar comment to make.
Stasis field, it would have been a perfect moment to put Captain Battelle in the transporter buffer.
Right? That's what I thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
still may. They still may.
Right.
They better.
But that's one of the things I would love. Like, I hope the writers thought of that, because you clearly established that on the show at this point.
Yep.
Exactly.
Several times. Multiple times. Like
that's
all of the first season. Several
and
times
that would
this
be a
season.
good payoff for that technology.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that's not
also-
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that because that's not a get out of jail free card, because you've set that up on 2 seasons of the show now. So now you can use it and be like, haha, see, it works.
Here's what needs to happen. It needs to be Scotty involved in doing that, because that sets the stage for him doing it for himself way later, where he ends up on Next Generation.
Yeah.
He
Or
gets the idea from this episode.
Yeah. Or he can put her in there for 75 years. And we just never find out how it happens.
There you go.
No, that's Scotty Mabinga. He's mastered how to keep people in the buffer. He'll do it.
Yeah. Maybe he might delete you though. I wouldn't let Mabinga be in charge of that.
I mean, the dude's a doctor, transporter expert, assassin. He's got all kinds of talent. If he could cook,
Right.
Pike would be in trouble.
If he could make decisions, Pike would be in trouble.
That's true.
All right. Any closing thoughts on before we wrap this thing?
It was actually fun, and I will say this one thing: it's a good record. The only episode of Strange New Worlds I have truly despised is that one from season 1 with the, what was it called?
The fairy tale one.
Yeah, the fairy tale one. This one was, this is literally, I enjoyed it. You know, all my feelings about the canon and stuff. It was an exciting episode. It was a good episode, and that's not bad to say, you know.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's fun. I'm picking at it, but it's a show I like, and so I'm picking at it. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the adventure, whether I like everything that happens in the episode or not.
I
Right.
liked the fairy tale one. I think it was my favorite from the first season. And this episode, after coming off Subspace Rhapsody, was very difficult for me.
You're probably not going to listen to this one on a loop for the next week.
No, I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to watch it 7 times in one day and just keep playing it over and over again and listen to it while I'm working.
Right.
That's not something I'm going to do in this episode.
Okay, our closing comment comes from Eric Watts, Doctor and Badass.
well, that's
Nice.
just true.
Yep.
All right. Well,
All right.
Alan, where can people find more of you?
Well, let me tell you, I have a couple of other podcasts that you could listen for, and one of them is Modern Musicology. We have a show about the 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon coming up in a couple of weeks. We have just put out the first of 2 episodes recapping the releases from 1988. Part 2 of that will be out this coming Monday. And then I also have a Doctor Who podcast called Doctor Who Auton to Zygon, or Doctor Who A to Z. So
Awesome.
go look for those. They're worth
how
your
about-
time.
And how about you, Keith?
You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook, primarily the ESL Network Facebook groups. And my phone updated Twitter to X today, so I guess I'm on X now as well.
Oh, just now?
Yeah, just today I did an
Wow.
upgrade. It changed from that little blue bird to the X.
Oh, the bird is gone.
The bird.
Now I feel like I'm doing something unseemly every time I launch Twitter.
Make sure you tell your wife what that app is.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
I swear to God, it's Twitter. I don't know what happened. It's Elon Musk.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna get bow chicka bow bow.
Right? You know it.
And how about
baby.
you, Veronica?
So I have a performer Facebook page, Dabo Woman. That's where we're putting a lot of our more adult content and really anything performer wise that I'm doing myself. I also started a TikTok page where I'm talking about Star Trek and also posting things about my dog. Because she's adorable. But the TikTok is fairly new, Dabo Woman 8. And of course, Dabo Woman is the
There were
is the handle.
7 other Dabo women before you.
Well, there was Dabo Woman, and 8's my lucky number, so Dabo Woman 8.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Ah.
Yeah.
Now, what are you on Facebook?
I'm Dabo Woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Twitter, same thing?
I don't do Twitter.
Yeah, you got a Twitter that's Dabo Woman. You don't remember that?
Yeah, I have an X that's Dabo Woman.
That's true.
Oh, wait, Dabo Woman 8 also.
Okay.
Yes, I have an X.
Okay.
And you can
I'm
find
the
both
X.
of us at Felt Nerdy.
Yes.
Where we're starting to post some updates for our shows that we're working on for DragonCon. So
Sweet.
follow that. We've got 4 shows of our own at DragonCon. Plus, we're doing another kids workshop for crafting, and we're doing the Late Night Puppet Slam, and we maybe do something else as well. But we're gonna be all over it. So we're in DragonCon mode right now. So follow Felt Nerdy, and you can see our general content. And if you want to see the more adult, not safe for work stuff, that's on Veronica's Dabo Woman page. We're trying to keep the Felt Nerdy Facebook page family friendly and keep the other stuff somewhere else. So where else can people find us, Veronica?
Bunking Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
And do you have a closing for us this week?
Breaking Case of Gorn.
Hey, that's good. That was good.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Perfect.
I'm so glad no one had said that before during the podcast. I was so worried.
We're all shocked.
I'm still dying about the guy saying if he'd open up the case, there was like an old cannon in there, the bamboo cannon. That's hilarious.
That'd be great.
All right. Everybody who watched and commented, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
We will see you next season in 2 years or so. No, seriously, we'll be back next week.
Yes, we will.
What are we doing next week?
Next week, we're joined by Matt and Elaine Sweatman, and we're going to be talking about Star Trek, the original series, season 3.
Yes.
So if you've been following Matt's season 3 ranking and countdown on our Facebook page, we're going to have a discussion about that season specifically next week.
And you can hold him accountable for his choices.
He'll pay for his crimes.
All right. We'll see everybody next week. Take care, y'all.
Bye.